Assalamualaikum to Ustazah Norizan and my fellow friend. My name is Amir Rizwan, group with 4 others which are Amira Wahida, Ainuha, Wan Quratul Aini and Aina Azlana. We are from JBA 2494A. Today, we are going to present our topic regarding Maxim 32, Al-Tasarruf ala Ra'iyati Manutul bil Maslahah. And the case study we're going to discuss is regarding the case of the development of heretical teaching Ayahpin in Malaysia. Before discussing the case of heresy, we preface with what is Al-Tasarruf ala Ra'iyati Manutul bil Maslahah. In this Maxim analysis, there are 2 words often related. The first is tasharruf, which is action, behavior or conduct. And the second is maslahat, which is the description that benefit or avoid harm. Overall, this maxim discusses the action taken by a person who has a qualification and power or authority in making decision that can provide benefit and goodness that can protect its people against maslahah. In Surah An-Nisa verse 58, Allah said, indeed, Allah command you to return trust to their rightful owner, and when you judge between people, judge with fairness. In this ayat, Allah emphasized that a person who has qualification and power should act in the aspect of the welfare of the people and not just according to desire of lust, his family or his group. Next, we are going to the case study that is studied, namely the development of the heretical teaching of Ayahpin in Malaysia. According to sources obtained from Jabatan Hal Ehwal Agama Terengganu, JHEAT, Ayahpin or his real name, Arifin bin Muhammad, is from Bacok, Kelantan and live in Kampung Batu 13, Hulu Besut, Terengganu. He was married at the early age of 13 years old. He had no religious education and knew little about reading the Muqaddam. At the age of 29, he knew and followed the top Ayah Hassan for over 4 to 5 years and began to asceticism, which is bertapa. He claimed that while in the process of his asceticism and instead of unconsciousness, he heard the instruction of the Ratib, which was said from a man dressed all in white and teaching religious chapter that lead him to meet Jibril. And as a result, after regaining consciousness from fainting, he continued to spread the teaching. He is known as the Ayahpin among his 22,000 followers, who not only managed to attract the local but also people from abroad such as Africa, India and British were also successfully deceived and glorified him as a god of all religions. The activity of this group are not focused on one particular place only, but always move to seek influence in various places. It is said that their teaching was held alternately between house to house and one place to one place. Among the places their target are: first, Batu 13 Tenang Besut Terengganu; second, Felda Jerangau Terengganu; third, Kampung Nibong Sungai Tong Terengganu; and lastly, Kampung Pasir Panjang Terengganu.
The details of Ayahpin teaching. The Ayahpin teachings may be derived from the teachings of the Orthodox order. Number 1, Ayahpin claims that God is a human. This is also a lesson found in the teachings of Hasan Anak Rimau. Number 2, there is no need to believe in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because Rasulullah is an ordinary human being and it can overcome only by using of zikir. Number 3, heaven is limited to his followers only, and the keys of the heavens are only in his hand, which is ayapin. As for others, they are likely looks like a pig. This is unclean. Number 4, the 5 daily prayers are not obligatory. Number 5, only he himself has the power to appoint from among his students the titles of Wali Allah and determine his rank. Number 6, the current Quran is a fraud. Number 7, doomsday or Qiyamah will not happen because Allah is not stupid enough to create the world and then destroy it. Number 8, pillars of Islam and Islamic laws such as fasting, zakat and others have nothing related to God. These 8 numbers is the most famous among 22 details of Ayah-Pin teachings that they've been produced. Next, we are going to know the ideological symbols. There are several ideological symbols that form the basics of this teaching. The most famous is number 1, Teko, a cream-colored 2-story teapot matched with a blue vase worth 45 million, being a symbol of the purity of water and love pouring from the sky. It is the prototype model of the heavens. Every followers who first visit the headquarters of the Kerajaan Langit will be asked to drink holy water from a vase that is always filled with teapot. Number 2, Payung Kuning. The Payung Kuning, as large as the teapot, symbolizes it as a place where the people take refuge under Allah, apart from being associated with the 9 planets in the Hinduism. Number 3, a fishing boat that called as a Bahtera Nabi Nuh. Number 4, which is the last one, is icon Bulan Sabit as a symbol of people without religion. Furthermore, we also have a survey towards our respondent. We asked 2 questions that related our legal maxim. Our first question is, who is responsible for combating the issues of the heresy? For about 89.1%, people says that Jabatan Agama Islam in Malaysia, who are the one who are responsible for the issues of the heresies, and 7.6% will says that government are one of the responsible towards this issue, and 3.3% say that Prime Minister is the one who are responsible for the issue of the heresy. The next questions, which the last questions is, it is each state in Malaysia has their own Islamic authority, and most of the respondents says that yes, which is referred to the 98.9%, and only one respondent says that no, which is we know that the majority knows and understand that each state in Malaysia have their own Islamic authority.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Ustazah Norizal and my beloved friends. My name is Ainu Habiti Ma'arifin. I'm going to explain about the application of Maxim 32 in our case study. The suitable Maxim that can be applied for this case is Maxim 32, which is that those with authority over people must take into account the interests of the people. The application for Maxim 32, it had mentioned about those who have an authority over others, either private or public. Their action should give a benefit to other people. Based on our article, it stated about the spread of heresy in Terengganu, which brought by the Ayah-Pin, or we had known as a Kerajaan Langit. For the information, his followers around 22,000 include the Indian, Africa and British. In this case, obviously, the action taken by Ayah-Pin is totally wrong, where it contradicts the teaching or ruling of Islam and led to apostasy. According to Sheikh Dr. Abdul Rahman Al-Maliki, a Muslim can fall into disbelief in 4 aspects. For instance, with conviction, with doubt, in the words and action. As can be seen, the teachings given by the Ayah-Pin led to apostasy in aspect of conviction is he mentioned that they must meet Allah and the Messenger first, then they can believe. And the human life that is on the face of the earth is relying with him because he holds all the key to the hereafter. Secondly, the apostasy in aspect of doubt is Ayah-Pin does not believe that the heaven and the earth will be rolled up or destroyed on the day of judgment because they never met the day of judgment yet. Other than that, he also mentioned to recite prior to praising Ayapin is more afdal than zikir and prayer. Next, he stated if you want to believe in the existence of the pillars of faith, it must be seen first. If it cannot be seen, then it does not exist. Thirdly, his apostasy in terms of word. He said that the existence of Quran is from a compilation of 3 books such as Zabur, Taurat, and Injil. Ayapin also claimed himself to be the god of all religions such as the reincarnation of Jesus, Shiva, and Muhammad, which his followers believe that one day Ayapin will return as Imam Mahdi. Lastly, in action, every time they gather at Bayu Cave, Musang Cave, Kelantan, a Quran will be burned and its ashes will be smeared on Ayapin's body. All of the statements that have been proved and mentioned in the Terengganu State Mufti official portal and from the journal written by the UM student. Other than that, there is a certificate of his apostasy as a figure. The consequences from his heresy to community is a severed family relationship between the practitioner of this teaching and his family. This is clear as experienced by the Ayapin who did not reprimand his own daughter. Secondly, is that most of the families involved with this teaching become poor due to excessive sacrifice to the Ayapin. Some are willing to give up their daughters to be the wife of Ayapin even though their children are still in school. Based on our research in journal that been written by Abdul Haris bin Ahmed, it mentioned about the action had been taken by Terengganu State Affairs Department as a party who has an authority to avoid the issue from happening again, which is they collaborated with the 40 police and enforcement officers have made an inspection in the village of Ayapin to see the teaching classes and the number of his followers. On that time, it just had 50 people in the village and his followers stated the teaching class had not been met again. Second action that been taken by Terengganu State Affairs Department based on the journal is submission to court. He was convicted under Section 209(2) of the Terengganu Religious Affairs Administration and number 1986. He was also found guilty of insulting Islam by verbally confessing that he was not a Muslim on 40 June 2001, fined 2,900 and imprisoned for 11 months. While his followers had been locked up because they have a document that contradicts the teaching of Islam and ordered to repent and be given a lesson again, which is fardu and wajib for a Muslim. And then, Judge of the Sharia Subordinate Court here, Muhammad Nazrul Yusuf, ordered the prosecution case of 19 followers of Ayapin heresy to be transferred to the Kuala Terengganu Sharia High Court. Benefit from action that been taken by Terengganu State Affairs Department to ensure that all the community in Malaysia, especially in Terengganu, they will not be caught up in heretical teaching that can distort their faith. This can ensure their safety and faith from bad influence such as heresy.
Based on the discussion of this case, it can be concluded as application of Maxim Tasharruf ala Ra'iyati Manutul bil Maslahah reveal that the policy of the leaders and Jabatan Hal Ehwal Agama Islam Terengganu in giving a decision in accordance with Maslahah, because in the decision state that the teaching of Ayapin is one of heretical teaching in Malaysia that is contrary to Islamic teaching and insult Sharia. From the explanation, it can be seen there is a maslahah in dealing with the case of teaching of Ayapin to continue to grow in Malaysia. Then, in such a situation, the Terengganu Fatwa ruled that the teaching of Ayapin are heretical and punish the offenders of heretical teaching and various other ways that are more concerned with maslahah.
Next, I would like to talk about Maxim 36. Maxim 36 is about what is prohibited to take is also prohibited to give. Ma haruma AKHZHU, haruma itta'ahu. This is the maxim that explains the occurrence as well as the effect of Sharia prohibitions. It states that when the Sharia prohibits taking something, it means it is also forbidden to give it to others. The word of haruma yahrumu literally means to be or become forbidden, unlawful and prohibited, while the word haram is an adjective derived from the word According to Sharia terminology, this maxim is applying to every act that the lawmaker has strictly demanded to be avoided. It is due to when a person avoids and does not do what is prohibited, then they will receive the reward which has been promised in the Quran, while when they do what is prohibited, they will be punished. For example, riba. It has been clearly prohibited in the Quran, although all the Quranic prohibitions of riba are intended to take it. The Sunnah makes it clearer that the person who give it, the maker of the covenant, and his witness are all sinners. There are two exceptions for act done for lawful purpose as well as to protect lawful rights recognized by Sharia. First, it is unlawful for people who hold official position and receive a salary to perform their duties, solicit or accept bribes to do their work. However, scholars allow on a case-by-case basis. A person who insists should give a gift to such an officer if this is the only way to guarantee his or her legitimate rights, provided it is not done at the expense of legitimate rights of others. Second, a person facing the need for financing for medical treatment is allowed to make a loan in which he pays riba if he does not find anyone who is willing to give him alms or an interest-free loan. A case study of this saying is about working in the industrial realm where there are prohibited elements. Regarding to the Quran, this falls into the category of prohibited. According to the news from Sinar Harian on 7 October 2018, is a state about refuse to touch the bottle of liquor. Insult to the girl is very barbaric. This news had been mentioned about a Muslim girl who have been working at a convenience store as a cashier. In this situation, she has been mocked by a male customer due to refusal of the girl to hold alcohol bottle during the payment station. So, the action of the Muslim girl as a cashier who was on duty at the time caused uneasiness in the buyer of the liquor. She decided to give an excuse, which is holding formal liquor does not invalidate ablution, but selling it is a sin. She states that Islam considers alcohol to damage the mind and soul, then it is not appropriate for a good Muslim individual to give destructive material to the other party. According to our research, 93 respondents have responded to our survey related to our case study, working in certain places of prohibited elements. There are several questions about this case that have been asked in our review. First question is, had you ever worked in an industry that sells and contains illegal elements? Based on our survey, 89.2% have said yes and 10.8% of respondents say no to these questions. It means that most of respondents used to work in companies that sold and supplied illegal food, while only a few of them had never worked in companies that sold and supplied illegal food. Secondly, the statement that been given is I agree. Muslims still can work in any industry that has an element of haram if they follow the precepts of Islam. For this statement, around 82.8% respondent had agreed, while 17.2% respondent did not agree with statement above. This shown that half of the respondents agree with statement that say Muslims still can work in any industry that has an element of haram if they follow the precepts of Islam. But in my opinion, I will stick with those who agree with this statement. According to Islamic law, it is not wrong at all, but if it has illegal elements, the situation should be changed according to better rules and comply with Islamic law. If most jobs have illegal elements and not corrected the situation, until when the workers need to quit? And how can the country want to develop like Japan? The final statement is, refer to I prefer to stay with my work, even if it has an illegal or prohibited element rather than being unemployed. There were 8.6% of respondents who did not accept this statement, while 91.4% of respondents received. Most of them agree with this statement due to the unstable economy, due to the drastic fall of the currency. As a result, society's purchasing power decreases, aggregate spending declines, and will indirectly cause national income to fall. Because of this, most companies don't want to take the risk by hiring a lot of new employees instead of hiring existing employees to account for the cost of expenses. So, most respondents agree to remain employed in a company despite the illegal elements. That's all from me.
Next, how we applying the Maxim 36, which is Ma HARUMA AKHZHU, HARUMA AKHZHU toward these cases. It can be linked to this case with the fact that the law of origin of alcohol is prohibited, so all acts related to alcohol are also prohibited. Therefore, the woman's cashier action of not holding a bottle of wine was correct. This is because she refused to involve herself with anything related to alcohol. This coincidence with the words of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, which he cursed 10 people related to alcohol, who squeezes, who asks to squeeze, who drink, who bring, who is brought to him, who pours, who sells, who eats, then proceed of the wine sales, who buys, and who sells for him. Obviously, it is obligatory as Muslim to stay away from it, since alcohol is najis and a great sin if one does activity related to it. However, it is still a mistake for the female cashier to work in a place where there are non-halal items, although she tried her best not to approach and hold the bottle of wine until she was willing to be scolded by non-Muslim customers. In spite of that, her income remains macro because the job is mixed with sources that are prohibited by the Sharia. Confirming with Mufti of Federal Territory Malaysia, if a person's income is mixed between haram and halal, then the income is not haram, but the law is more to shubha. So, it is better to try as best as possible to keep away from job whose income is from dubious sources. For the justification, first, the cashier was advised to look for a job that does not have any shubha because it is more peaceful. Due to the technology development, she also can create a new job through online and refuse to work at that convenience store. Second, according to some scholars, even so, if she finds it difficult to find another job due to certain circumstances, then it is permissible to work in that place on the condition of having the suspicions carried on by the company, while at the same time striving to find other jobs that are safer and more reassuring. In line with the words of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, leave what you doubt and take what you do not doubt. As the conclusion, the Maxim Ma HARUMA AKHZHU, HARUMA AKHZHU, which is what is prohibited to take is also prohibited to give, means that when the Sharia prohibits taking a certain things, it means that it's also prohibited to give it to others. So, that's all from us. Thank you so much for your attention.